this is really geared towards remote assets, small energy locations, substations, things like that, windmills, grain elevators, cement plants, smaller networks that really need a simple solution. And right now we have combined our SDN OT network controller with a 7-port switch just to make sort of a plug and play type of solution for you for some of these environments. But now that if that's all you came for, thank you for coming. But I'm going to go through a little bit about what the OT network controller is, why SDN is important, how it works to sort of build up the value, and then I'll compare and contrast what the current controller, which is a software solution, versus this network appliance, where we sort of see these fitting within the market. Some of the early people that we've shown this to have been really excited, especially around remote assets and small locations. That's really where people are interested in this type of a solution. It's just simple. So we're going to back up a little bit and get into this. Year 2000, what was big in the year 2000? Ford Taurus was like every single rental car you could get. Flip phones were out. Those were big. A Pentium 3 with a whopping 128 mega RAM and 20 gig hard drive. That was a great desktop computer back then. The iPod was just really in its heyday then. And guess what? Plant floor Ethernet was introduced back then. Profinet, Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP all came out within a few years of each other. Fast forward to today, what's still around? Profinet, Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP. That's still state-of-the-art networking technology. So we're dealing with 20-plus-year-old technology here. The network 20 years ago was a little different than it is today. Back then, air gaps were really common. No integration between IT and OT, really. You might have had a distribution switch or some type of small switch, and then just a few of the larger, more capable assets on the network. HMIs, computers, maybe drives, PLCs, those sort of things. But if you fast forward to today again, way more complex. And there's no way I could possibly represent the complexity of today's networks on this screen and actually have it be at all readable. But you've got multiple management tools. You've got different switches from different vendors. You've got every device that's been created now has Ethernet capability of some type. In order to manage this, you've got multiple VLANs. You've got access control lists if you're brave enough to use them. Like I said, multiple management tools, and it's really makes for a fragile network. If you've ever had a loopback in your network, that's because of these sort of things. If you've ever accidentally unplugged something from a switch and you plugged it in what you thought was the same port, and now you're on a different VLAN and it quits communicating, all these things are very problematic because this fabric of this network is brittle. It is fragile. And because of that brittleness and fragility, it's a lot easier for cyber criminals and bad actors of any type to get in there and access things. Because if you ever ask a customer what their network looks like, do you have a network drawing? Do you know what it is? They usually look at their shoes. And you might have a network drawing that's, even if it's 2 years old, it's completely out of date because things happen. Production goes down and everything stops in order to make that happen, including rules around network management. And so what we're proposing is a better way, a simpler way. You have all of the same devices that you had on your network before. Everything's still connected. Everything is still talking. But instead of having all of these legacy tools to manage everything, manage it from a single location. Remove a lot of those frustrations. Know what's talking on your network. So that is what the Veracity OT Network Controller does. We've taken software-defined networking and we've applied it to the plant floor.